We're going to be joined now by Cody Worsham, digital media reporter over at LSU. What's up, Cody?
What's going on? Good to be on with you.
Doing well. Appreciate your time as always. Before we get to hoops, true or false? This is the most you've heard Dave Aranda talk since he's been at LSU combined in the last 2 days.
I'll say true, but when you do talk to Aranda, the 2 times a year that he'd be available to the media, he could talk for a while. I mean, he could fill recorder time. In fact, I think it drives the TV guys a little bit crazy because he gives long, detailed answers, which don't work great on TV. But I enjoy hearing Aranda talk. I'm really interested to kind of follow Baylor this year because he's all out there, man. He'll tell you everything that you want to know about his defensive schemes and everything. So it should be fun to see that kind of out in the public.
All right, let's get to LSU hoops. They've got a big contest against the Florida Gators tonight inside the PMAC, and they are still the class of the SEC, only undefeated team left in conference play. The Florida Gators started out number 6 in the preseason polls, and then they had an ugly non-conference kind of run there. Then they've had an ugly loss within the SEC, but it figures that the Florida Gators were going to be a team that was a little bit younger. It took them last year a little bit to grow. They did, and Blackshear comes over from Virginia Tech. Is this Florida team as good as we thought preseason-wise now? They still have a long way to go.
I think they're pretty good. I mean, what they did to Auburn last time out, beating them by 22, they hold Auburn to 47 or something like that. I mean, that's a team that can really score the ball. So they'll shut them down defensively. I like this Florida team last year. They gave LSU trouble last year, beat them twice, including the SEC tournament. Mike White, to me, is one of the best coaches just in terms of X's and O's and game plans in the country, and he always has a great plan for LSU. They're a team not too dissimilar from LSU in terms of age profile, a lot of freshmen and sophomores with a lot of talent, but just kind of when they're that young, they're inconsistent. And then LSU senior is Skylar Mays, and then they got Blackshear, the transfer. So it's kind of like LSU. They had some growing pains early in the season trying to figure out how everything fit together, but other than that one loss in conference play, they've been really good. They can guard you. They can score. They got shooters. They got a post guy inside. They've got guys who can get to the free throw line. They're a really talented team. I think LSU's got their hands full tonight.
Last couple of times these teams have played, I mean, we're talking overtime battles. We're talking back and forth, and it feels like it's been a more physical basketball game with a little bit more grit to it when LSU and Florida have played the last couple of meetings, Cody.
Yeah, that's Mike White's teams defensively, they guard that way, and it's kind of the profile of both teams just physically. When you look at LSU, not a ton of height necessarily, although 1 through 3 they're pretty big, but a lot of guys that can get into you and get LSU gets to the free throw line a bunch too. And then Florida's got a similar profile. There's no Tremont Waters out there. There's no 5'10" guys that are going to be out there, kind of skidding around the court and out quicking you. It's a lot of bigger guys. Nembhard's a big point guard for them. Scotty Lewis has got some good length to him on the wing. Even Locke, their shooter, has some size. So it's a lot of 6'4" to 6'6", 6'7" guys running around out there, and that generally produces a more physical game. Probably a slower game because Florida likes to slow the tempo down. LSU's played a lot slower of late, so it's probably not going to be a game in the 80s. But it's probably going to be one of those games in the race to 65 or 70. If you get to 70, you might win the game. Just two teams that have kind of figured out their identity, slowed things down a little bit this year, and kind of will grind you out, which should make for a pretty interesting matchup.
Cody, when you look at the last 5 games, all SEC wins, some of these wins have been, a little ugly wins, but that's okay. Obviously, if you're getting wins in conference play, and this team has been tested since Arkansas. You got a 2-point matchup. Then you go Mississippi State, 1-point game, 4-point game at A&M. And it was a very ugly win against Ole Miss there in Oxford, but it was a win. How much is LSU taken from that? And are they still having the message, hey, guys, we can play better. We're winning playing ugly. Just imagine if we put it all together.
Yeah, winning's a skill. It's a skill that this team didn't have developed yet early in the season, so they lost some of those games. Now they've kind of figured out what they need to do. You're right. You call it ugly. I would call it aesthetically displeasing. It's kind of how Will Wade wants it to be at times with this team because you watch some teams play. You think of the Villanova teams that won the championships. You think of teams that move the ball really fast. They're constantly cutting and screening and all that stuff. And certain teams can do that, but I think with this LSU team, you have a lot of youth. You have a lot of guys who play with the ball in their hands. Javonte Smart wants it in his hands. Skylar Mays wants it in his hands. So when you want to minimize your mistakes at the end of the game, maybe you move the ball a little bit less. Maybe it's less risky play, and you just kind of give it to a guy and let him win his one-on-one matchup, which is kind of what LSU's boiled down to. They find the one-on-one matchups where they have the advantage and they try to attack them. And it varies from game to game. So you've seen Skylar have big games. You've seen Javonte have big games. It's a little bit less, exciting to watch maybe, or a little bit less artistic to watch, but it's effective. It's going to keep games close because it's going to be hard to, run away from teams. They're going to make runs back. But it's also going to keep you in every game. And that's where this LSU team is right now. They're really solid. They know their strengths. They know their identity. They figured out, hey, let's crash the glass, score in the paint, and let's get stops on the other end. And it's been a winning formula so far. Florida, I think, is going to be probably their biggest challenge since they've kind of found their identity out. So we'll kind of see how it unfolds tonight.
Cody Worsham is our guest here on Hanging with Hester. Cody, you mentioned it. Guys want the ball in their hands late in games. But Skylar Mays has been that guy for LSU. And early in the season, some of their close losses, it didn't turn out well for Skylar. But he has figured it out, and he has been absolutely lights out at the end of these SEC games. You can tell that his confidence has grown, and he is the option for LSU down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, people, early in the season they were reflecting on Tremont Waters, and, man, this team misses Tremont. And, look, I miss Tremont as much as anybody. I loved watching that guy play. But if you remember, there were times in his career where he struggled to close out games. Now, he had the big, the Michigan game in his freshman season, the A&M game where he hit the 2 deep threes. Obviously, March Madness last year, he gets the game winner against Maryland. He's got these big moments. But I remember games where he struggled to close out games and finish games, and he made poor decisions or he had turnovers. So basically what I'm saying is when you're the guy with the ball in your hands at the end of the game, you're going to fail, and people are going to see it. But you're also going to have some success. And I think that's what it is for Skylar. I mean, I love Skylar's game. I love his ability at the end of the game. He's going to get you a good shot. He's going to get to the rim. He gets almost 60% of his shots at the rim. That's as many as Emmett Williams. Like, he gets to the rim as much as LSU's 5-man, and he's LSU's 1 or 2. So he can get to the goal. The next thing for him, I think, is getting to the goal and making the pass. He's done that a little bit more the last few games. His assist numbers have gone up, which is kind of more his natural makeup. He was much more of a pass-first point guard coming into college. He developed more into a primary scorer, and now he's kind of mixing both together really well. So it's been good to see. You just trust Skylar. He's been there. He's intelligent. He's skilled. He's going to make the right decision. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. But I trust that guy at the end of the game to make the right play.
Cody, how you feel about the SEC Big 12 Challenge coming kind of in the middle of conference play? LSU travels to Austin, Texas to take on the Longhorns. Do you like where that's at on the schedule to break up conference play, or would you rather have that maybe at the beginning of the season?
I'm good with it. I'm good with it in the middle of conference play. It's a good little change up. It's a good chance for, I know Texas is a struggle, but typically it's a good chance for a non-conference win to boost your resume, and especially for LSU. Will's teams always get better as the season goes on. They're always much better in February and March than they were in November, December. So I like that they get a chance to develop a little bit before they play this game. Texas just got whooped by West Virginia, and they're kind of searching for an identity. So that's going to be tough for LSU. Right in the middle of this SEC schedule, as they're trying to defend that title to go on the road into Austin. As much as Texas has struggled, they've got plenty of talent. It's going to be a big challenge for them. But I like it. It's just a little bit of a wrinkle.
Yeah, that talent didn't show last night. They lost by 40 to West Virginia. That was a game that, let's just say, got away from the Longhorns. All right, before we let you leave, last one. Who you got today, Chelsea versus Arsenal?
Well, Arsenal this is kind of their MO this year, 1-1. It used to be 1-0 to the Arsenal was the song they'd sing back in like the early 90s before I was a fan. Now it's 1-1 draw. Like that, it doesn't make as good of a song or a chant in a stadium. That's pretty much what Arsenal does these days is 1-1 draw. So let's go with a 1-1 draw.
Okay. And Justin Vincent just looked at me like I was crazy for talking
Premier
League.
We just lost
soccer.
75% of the audience. Sorry about that.
All right, there he is, Cody Worsham, digital media reporter over at LSU. Cody, always appreciate the time, brother.
Yeah, thank you.